Greetings, all you miraculous people out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you with another episode review of Miraculous Ladybug. This time it's season three's episode, Timetagger. And honestly, this falls in line with a lot of the previous episodes, just really kind of being very plot centric episodes that set up a lot of future events, and none so more than this episode, where we actually start off by seeing Alia's little sisters running around with Nino's little brother Chris. And they're playing soccer or football, however you call it. And it becomes very apparent that Alya's little sisters, Ella and Etta, are much better than Chris in terms of this. Meanwhile, we see that Alya is, playing this kind of rhyme and rap game on her phone that, Marinette isn't quite that great at. Meanwhile, Chris comes in wanting to actually play with the big kids, but he's not able to. However, Marinette then notices that once again, Xavier Ramirez, or Mr. Pigeon, has turned into Mr. Pigeon yet again. It's like it's easier to call him Mr. Pigeon because he's so obsessed with pigeons. And you always know who he is when he's out and about. But Marinette, tries her best to make up an excuse for as to why she can't stick around and help babysit all the little tykesters, but she comes up with a really bad excuse, and even when she does leave, Tiki calls her out on the bad excuse she made. But Mr. Pigeon makes all of his weird demands because of the mistreatment of pigeons in Paris, and we also get to know that this is like the 22nd time that he's done this, or 23rd time he's done this, and Cat Noir and Ladybug are just fed up with it. They're completely over constantly doing this, and they manage to defeat him off camera. That's how inconsequential this battle with him actually is. And Ladybug deakumatizes the butterfly, and we see that Mr. Ramirez is actually kind of despondent over this. It just keeps happening to him time and time and time again, and he actually ends up treating Ladybug and Cat Noir to a little bit of ice cream just to make up for all the constant akumatization he keeps going through. And Ladybug and Cat Noir state that they might need to figure out something in order to keep him from constantly being akumatized. Meanwhile, Hawkmoth notes the fact that despite the fact that he keeps akumatizing Mr. Ramirez, nothing really ever seems to come from it, and he even calls Mr. Ramirez a bit of a loser. But before he, packs everything up, he notices another signal coming in, a very deeply angry or sinister emotion just coming out of nowhere. And before Cat Noir and Ladybug can leave, in comes a new akumatized baddie called Timetagger, who comes in saying that he's come from the future and he's ready to take down the past Ladybug and Cat Noir. So he goes around tagging various spots around the area, and he also shoots and sends various people through time, like Mr. Ramirez, who he sends to the 1630s, who becomes this knight within the French army. And you even have a plaque and everything. So Timetagger goes around altering the very history of Paris and just causing and running amok. But Ladybug and Cat Noir are starting to run out of time with their Miraculous, so they go in to try to take down Timetagger as fast as possible. But because of his various tags all around, he's actually able to teleport to tags that he's put down in previous poses, and all the while just rapping and rhyming throughout the whole thing. And Ladybug and Cat Noir just cannot get a beat in on him or anything. And when Hawkmoth notes that it's very interesting that such a critical person has come in who has the potential to take down Ladybug and Cat Noir, Timetagger actually gets in touch with Hawkmoth, saying that he was sent by the Hawkmoth of the future to take down Ladybug and Cat Noir in the past. And he shows that he's pretty much unstoppable because he can be anywhere he wants to be at any time. And Hawkmoth isn't too happy that it'll take into the future to actually, pose an actual threat to Ladybug and Cat Noir. He's all too happy to have this this future akumatized baddie on his side in order to even the score in the past. And so Timetagger starts to approach Ladybug and Cat Noir as they're just completely unable to deal with him, ready to take their Miraculous. And they're just running out of time, and it gets to the point where they have to escape and run away. And so Timetagger is just left to continue to wreak havoc in the past because he's unopposed, and at some point he will get to them. So they end up running into Louvre and going into the bathrooms to replenish their Kwame's energy supplies. And while Marinette is a bit disheartened by the fact that her future self wasn't even to take down someone like this, Tiki is confident that with time, Marinette will figure something out, and so she transforms back. Meanwhile, Plague just says that Adrian should look on the bright side, at least up into the future, he's still paired up with Ladybug, and so Adrian transforms back into Cat Noir. And as they run off to face off against Timetagger yet again, they actually run into Alex Kobudo, who apparently had a message from Ladybug that was received through the pocket watch that she had from that one episode where she actually got a Kumatized Time Breaker. So, we're seeing that come into play yet again, and for some reason, there's a message on that pocket watch for Ladybug. A message that's kind of a bit of a riddle. One that hints to the burrowing in the past, the distant past. And Ladybug, realizes that it's something in reference to the fact that in reference to the oldest exhibit in the museum, which, she asked Alex to show her to. And that exhibit ends up being the ancient Egypt exhibit. And they go knocking around, seeing if there's anything hollow that might contain something that apparently will help them. They find it in this one formation, and Cat Noir uses his cataclysm on it, which ends up revealing another Miraculous holder, namely Bunnyx, who had been sealed in the stone for apparently several thousand years. And she explains that in the future she is a part of Ladybug and Cat Noir's team of superheroes, and because of all the very serious situations and what was going on there, she's usually used as a bit of a last resort. And because of that, during a bit of a showdown with Timetagger, her Miraculous ended up being damaged because of the bit of recklessness on the part of Cat Noir. And it's only through the use of Alex's ability that she'll be able to replenish her energy supplies, but it will take Alex handing over her pocket watch. And after she does so, we actually see that Alex's pocket watch is in fact a disguised Miraculous, the Bunny Miraculous. And Bunnyx powers down, and we come to find out she is the holder of the Kwame Fluff and the Bunny Miraculous, and she is in fact the future version of Alex Kodal. So we're actually seeing that sometime in the future Alex will become a Miraculous holder, which is really cool. But I'm really digging this futuristic design for Alex, and I just can't wait to see her get into this point in her life. Just like really awesome design, really punk rocker. And when Ladybug ends up asking about how, why don't we just use your ability all the time? Alex says that, well, actually, Ladybug just kind of questions how, why she would give over that Miraculous because she hasn't done so yet, which shows that she's not genre savvy to future and past interactions. It just hasn't reached a point in time when Ladybug feels that Alex would be needed. But at least now she knows who the perfect person to hand over that Miraculous to actually is. Which Alex is completely psyched about being a future Miraculous holder. Meanwhile, Fluff, the Kwame of the Bunny Miraculous, is kind of getting a little mixed up on just how long they've been in stone, in adjacent to how old they feel. For them, it felt like a day passed at most, when in truth, several thousand years pass. And, you know, future Alex kind of reiterates the fact that because of various future events, they need to figure out something with Timetagger because they're not quite sure what to do with all of this. And when Ladybug asked if Alex knows anything about how they should take him down because she was actually there, Alex's memories are really scrambled because of all the time she spent in stone. But she figures that her best option is to, capture Timetagger and bring her to the future. And she does have recollection of meeting her future self. It's just that she only recalls what happened at the very end of the battle, and that's seeing her future self off. So that shows that Alex is essential to actually being there in the during that moment. So we actually get to see the future Alex power up and all that good stuff. Showing her activation spell because her deactivation is fluff counterclockwise, and her transformation frame is fluff clockwise. And she powers up into her Bunnyx form yet again. Honestly, Jeremy Zag released a lot of pictures on his personal Instagram of future Miraculous holders, and around the time that this was kind of released out there into the void of the internet, he had a picture of the future Alex, but we only see Alex of the future. We never see the present Alex Cole in her Bunnyx form. So that kind of makes me wonder how long it's going to take for her to actually gain that Miraculous. But as they go into the central area of the Louvre, they end up seeing that Timetagger has been on a rampage, just changing everything in the past and changing their present because of that. And things are growing completely out of control, and Ladybug starts to wonder if there's anything they can really do to stop Timetagger. But because they just failed in the future. But Bunnyx does her best in order to reaffirm that, hey, this is all Cat Noir's fault. If he hadn't gotten so rash and hot-headed, we wouldn't even be in this situation. We would have dominated Timetagger right then and there. And she starts listing off all these future bad guys that Ladybug end up taking down, later down in her career. Someone named Dr. Sadness, which is interesting. An alien invasion by the, what is that? The Alpalki? Piccoli? I don't remember the full name, but these weird monster things with big mouths. The tween quins of the inner dimension, pain and tears, which is just like, what even the hell is that? That's fascinating. The sister of this one superhero, Superia, who is called Majestia. That was the name. The sister of Majestia, who is this in-world superhero who lives in the U.S. This U.S. superhero, and her sister, Ignoblia, who I don't even remember what that means, but that's a very interesting plot line right there. So, all these various different villains, Ladybug will go on to defeat, all because she had the time and she was able to grow up into her fullest sense of herself. she would become her true self in the future, and she would become fully capable and fully realized, fully coming into all of the various abilities that she would have. But when Cat Noir asks about what his future was like, if he and Ladybug actually managed to become a bit of an item, she explains that, that not quite. They seem to be all over the place as per usual. So apparently nothing really changed, no matter how far into the future we get between the two of them. But once they finally exit the Louvre, they find that Timetagger has tagged the entire plaza. And he feels that he's completely unstoppable at this point, and they could do nothing against him. And before the rest of the team go in, Bunnyx explains that it's probably for the best that they not be involved, because if something were to happen to them, her future would cease to exist. So she positions her past self, Alex, over in the spot that she should be in order for her future to kind of line up. And so Bunnyx goes and uses her special ability, Burrow, which creates this kind of spatial portal which she jumps through and is able to pop up in certain places. So this shows that she's a complete dead match for Timetagger as they continue to just pop in and pop out all over the place, getting various good strikes in on each other, but they just can't seem to really manage to get one over on them. Cat Noir notices that even though she continuously uses her special ability, she doesn't seem to run out of energy as quickly as they do. And, Ladybug notes that that must be the benefit of growing with their powers. They're able to use it a lot more frequently in the future, which would be a nice upgrade. But as time goes on, Cat Noir gets very impatient and decides to go in with his own cataclysm. However, we find that Timetagger was waiting for this because it already happened in the past, and so he manages to teleport out of the way as Cat Noir goes in on Bunnyx by accident, but Bunnyx is able to dodge. When she ends up berating Cat Noir, it's just like, see, this is the exact same thing you did in the future, which caused the destruction of my my Miraculous, which caused the damage to my Miraculous. So thanks for that, jerk. However, before Timetagger can actually come in thinking the deed had been done, Bunnyx managed to predict where he would pop up, and she tries to send him into the future. And apparently he's gone, much to Hawkmoth's surprise. And it seems that that's it, the job is done. Only for as Bunnyx goes to leave, she notices that her past self doesn't have the pencil in hand as in her memories, and she realizes something's not right. A little too late, as Timetagger reappears and sends her over 100,000 years into the past, into the Ice Age. And so with that, Timetagger believes that she's completely done and tries to go in for Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous, only for Bunnyx to just reappear right then and there, ready to continue to take him on, only for her to be sent into the Cretaceous period next, and so on and so forth, constantly and again and again. And it starts to get to the point where you start to wonder if Bunnyx actually has this handled at all, which she very much does not, and she just admits that it's just too much for her, especially now that he's just sending her whenever he wants. And so Ladybug decides that the best thing she should do is, formulate a plan in order to take down Timetagger. So she brings out her lucky charm, which ends up being this, sketch pad. But this doesn't seem like it'll be enough to take down Timetagger, and he threatens to send Bunnyx back to the Big Bang. And so Ladybug gives up for the most part. Alright, just saying that okay, that's fine, just let me write a message to my future self. And, Hawkmoth warns that this might actually be a trap, and he should be wary of this. And so, Alex hands over a pencil so that Ladybug can write her note. And Bunnyx is kind of distraught by this, not wanting to be the reason why Ladybug had to give up But Ladybug writes a specific note and then crumples it up, saying, "Oh, I can't even write this." And we actually see that it's actually a diagram for her future self, and she hands it over stealthily to Bunnyx, and she gives her a hug before Bunnyx retreats into the future. And she brings Cat Noir over, but she makes it known to him that she has a plan in motion. So when Bunnyx goes to the future, she meets up with the future Ladybug and Cat Noir, and the future Ladybug notices the positioning of the diagram. And so as they walk over to a specific area, and as Hawkmoth starts to gloat, Timetagger lets the cat out of the bag that he is not in fact the Hawkmoth of the future. Timetagger vows it to bring it to his true master, much to the surprise and shock of the present Hawkmoth. So it shows that something apparently went wrong with his planning. And as Timetagger gets ready to have the Miraculous handed over to him, and as he goes for it, ultimately the future Ladybug sends out her yo-yo to capture him, and the future Cat Noir disarms Timetagger of his spray bottle, which Ladybug tosses over to Cat Noir for his cataclysm to break out the Akuma, and Ladybug evilizes him, revealing the Akuma and just de-akumatizing the victim, who Bunnyx reveals to be the actual future Chris. Chris Lafette, who is Nino's little brother of the future, much to the surprise of Ladybug. And we actually get, they still don't fully show off the future Ladybug, but she does kind of give a little message to the past Ladybug that no matter what, they will always manage to defeat any enemy that comes before them. A bit of a nice little reassurance from her future self. And Alex questions how long it'll take before she gets her very own Miraculous, but Bunnyx simply states that it'll be when she's as cool as her future self. And so they depart, with everything having been set to the way that it's supposed to be, with Bunnyx leaving on a happy note. And so when Cat Noir kind of questions why it seems like nobody reassured him how awesome he's going to become, Ladybug simply says that's because Cat Noir always seems to have confidence in himself. So there seems to be no real reason why he'd need any reassurance of how awesome he'll be in the future. And so we get a three-way fist bump, and that ends our episode, with Hawkmoth kind of needing to reevaluate how he sees things. As honestly, at this point, it's just like, well, does that mean I fail? Does that mean I lose? Does that mean everything I've done up until now is for nothing? And it takes some comforting words from Natalie to tell him that, hey, maybe it just means that in the future, you no longer need to be Hawkmoth. Maybe you get what you wanted after all this point, and you simply just didn't need the Miraculous after that moment. The future is not set in stone, and the future might come in ways that you never expected. And as Ladybug is once again dealing with Mr. Pigeon, she has to decline on a babysitting gig for Alia and Nino. However, Alia states that they actually managed to find another person to do babysitting for them as they head out, with that person being none other than Lila, who is filling Chris's head with various lies and deceptions, that she was the one who made the game that Chris wanted to play in the beginning, the rapping game, showing why his obsession in the future was for rapping and rhymes and taggings because of all of that. Meanwhile, Ladybug and Cat Noir are sitting down with Mr. Ramirez, and they actually suggest that maybe he should actually find other creatures to get invested in. That way he will no longer be akumatized at every turn. And, with that, Ladybug and Cat Noir actually kind of start to kind of consider that, hey, well, the future's not set in stone, and that with all the crazy various things that they face, they manage to get through all of it and get through the point in the future where they become everything that they want to be. And they'll just continue being really cool superheroes. But Cat Noir is unconvinced with the idea that they'll face off against someone named Monsieur Rat. And so they leave. Meanwhile, we see that Mr. Ramirez has taken a new liking to the rats of Paris, showing that he is in fact the future Mr. Rat. So, a very fun situation, a very fun revelations, and it just really kind of makes me wonder just how far off we are from that point. That's the sad point about stuff like this. You never truly know how long it's going to take until you get to these really cool moments, these really fun moments. We already know at least two other miraculous holders for the future, but I'm not going to spoil it here. Just know that it's some interesting choices, and honestly, if you haven't figured it out, anyone in Marinette's class is up for grabs for becoming a miraculous holder. And that's all I'll say about this situation, as I've gone on way too long with this review, but there's just so much to it. It really makes me wonder just about how Bunnyx will come into play and how the other miraculous holders will also come into play as well, because we at least know two of them for the end of this season, or at least somewhere before the midway point of next season. But it really makes me wonder how many more miraculous holders will we see go up against Hawkmoth, and will any of them actually end up joining Hawkmoth? Because we have Hawkmoth and we have Natalie as her persona, so there's a full-blown war brewing, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here on out. So tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this episode? How did you like it? Did you hate it? Would you have preferred not to have known so much about the possible future, as it really kind of makes you anxious to see it? Or do you enjoy the foreshadowing that we might see within the 4th and 5th season? Because those have already been announced and they're already in the works. So they're ready to come out at any point, which will be really fun. And who knows, we might go into a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th season. This series is just too fun to just watch through. Again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked this video, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to give me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below, so I might better myself for future reviews. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, that way you never miss out on another Miraculous Ladybug episode review. And if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere, for better or for worse. And until next time, just remember, your future is never set in stone, and it'll take a lot of interesting detours until you get to that point. So just have fun along the way. Until next time, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm going to bed. Bye-bye.